Welcome to the corner of oil, gas, and technology. This is episode 6 of the Oil and Gas Young Professionals podcast, and I'm your host, James Cordy. Today, Jessica Patterson discusses growing up around the oil and gas industry, cybersecurity related to oil and gas, and how you can be more secure in your everyday life. Okay, this week we have Jessica Patterson. Jessica is a territory development manager at Checkpoint Software here in Houston. Thanks for coming on the show this week.
Thanks for having me, James. Appreciated.
Jessica, so how did you get into oil and gas? Give us your background. We would like to learn more about you.
Yeah, my background, I grew up in Texas City, Texas, which is right off of the mainland in a very industrial town. So growing up, my dad often had conversations around the dinner table about the oil and gas environments that he worked in, and I had no idea what he was talking about. I went on to college and first worked in higher education as a nonprofit consultant, and then transitioned into working for the cybersecurity firm that I do now, Checkpoint Software. And how that occurred was I met someone in my new hire orientation program that we were both leaders in all the freshman orientation first year experience.
So we're talking about college right now?
We're talking about college right now. And this person actually works for our firm in Dallas and did the new hire program for Checkpoint a year prior than I did. So what the experience is it was 4 months in New York, 15 Americans, 15 Europeans, all learning about cybersecurity and sales, and more importantly, why it's relevant to securing the world and the markets that we serve. So I was chosen for that in 2013 and was specifically for a role in Houston.
So at this company doing cybersecurity, was that your first work in the oil and gas industry?
Yes.
It was?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then after going in, did you think you knew a decent amount and you were just hoping to learn more, or were you really just confused and drinking from the fire hose?
Definitely drinking from the fire hose. There was many times where I was overwhelmed, and because there's so much to learn about security and it covers all different facets of an organization. Something that I found really relevant though is whenever my company trained us on the importance of the visibility of compliance and managing your security. And it was that moment 4 weeks into the training program that things really clicked for me. I really felt comfortable and at ease. And specifically in oil and gas, there's different regulations, as you know. And so I found that so relevant and so valuable. And that's really when I fell in love in working with security. My background in college, I was a science tutor. So a little left-brained, and that's been really helpful in my career in technology.
Okay, so what are you doing right now in your current role, territory development manager? What does that look like day to day?
Yeah, day in, day out, that's working with different account teams and with different companies to acquire new business. So not only am I helping create the brand for Checkpoint Software, an organization that's been around for over 20 years. We created stateful inspection, which is one of the premier facets of security importance in the world. And now we've really transformed the industry by providing security to protect against zero-day threats and unknown malware. Something that I'd like to add about my history in security is I've done and performed well for my company for the past 3 years. And I used to, before stepping into this role 2 months ago, more on the outside sales side, I did all of the licensing and management work with existing customers. And I really enjoyed that because I was able to learn the operations side of sales and really grow in the industry, as well as join different organizations.
And who are the customers? You're talking about them. Who are these people?
Yeah, we have customers all over the world for Checkpoint Software and in all different industries. And that's one reason I love working in technology is because I'll never be the expert. Like I will never have all of the answers. There's always something new to learn, and it's very stimulating for me. The customers include different healthcare providers, oil and gas, energy, utilities, retail, you name it. Security is relevant to any company and business that uses the internet.
No, I think going back a little bit there is learning about stuff that you're curious. I like to tell people that I know that I don't know much being young, and I'm just trying to soak up as much as I can. Mm-hmm. So when I say, hey, what do you do? And let's learn more about that. I really mean it. Like I want to learn more because, every day, that's a very valuable skill is knowing that you just need to educate yourself and actually you have a lot to learn from other people. So in oil and gas industry specifically, are you dealing with the IT departments at your Chevrons and your Exxons, Anadarko, all these big operators? Are there downstream like refinery clients? Who are you dealing with?
They're pretty vast. So we have a lot of major oil and gas companies headquartered here in Houston, as well as midstream and downstream as well, and also different drilling and service providers. So it's interesting because I love learning more about their environment, and every organization is set up differently. Historically, we're working with the security department, the director of security, or the chief information security officer, the CIO. And though security now is a boardroom conversation, whereas 5 years ago it wasn't. So it's very relevant, and everyone wants to be involved in the conversation and not only learn like, okay, what is my company doing today? Yet what is more important to secure the needs of your company or an organization if you're one of my clients?
What are some of the big things that these companies struggle with in related to security?
In IT and OT, I believe it's three things. It's communication, it's innovation, as well as visibility. Communication, they're not communicating with each other. IT and OT, although it's like a handshake or lock and key, if you will, they don't communicate because a lot of the ruggedized appliances lack updates and patches and haven't been refreshed in a long time. So OT doesn't want to refresh them and IT wants to secure them. So there's a lot of communication issues occurring. I think innovation as well. There's not a lot of advanced persistence threat protections inside of the organizations. They may have them around, but not truly in the core. There's a lot of current business cases where different companies are getting breached because of USB drives or media sticks. So it's, for lack of better terms, it's ignorance of organizations thinking that they are protected and secure when they're not.
Okay, so you talked about thinking that you are protected when you're actually not. What are we protecting specifically in oil, gas, and energy, that vertical?
When you're depending on the customer, you're protecting the critical infrastructure of the Americas or of the world. And that's a significant responsibility without sounding too cliche. You're protecting the patents, your intellectual property, more importantly, your reputation and revenue. If you get breached as an organization, you lose your reputation, you lose your revenue, you lose your clients. More importantly, you lose your information. So if I was to be employed by one of my clients and worked in their IT department or any facet of their organization, and my credentials, my username, my password, maybe I was socially engineered from the information that someone took from me off of LinkedIn, someone could pretend and pose like they're me, maybe send a relevant email to their C-level, and then also include a link to a malicious website. So there's a lot that you can do within an organization to socially engineer and really disrupt business.
Yeah, I mean, not just business. Like you talked about the infrastructure. Like if you can take control of a pipeline or like a refinery process unit, and you can do the wrong blends because we have really skilled engineers and people that run those, the operators. But if someone hacks that, that could really cause big issues.
Right. And life-threatening issues as well.
Absolutely. When things go wrong, it's very dangerous work that people do, and stuff can blow up. Who are these people that are attacking it? Who are we trying to defend ourselves from?
Yeah, a lot of it is nation state. Cyber espionage. I was at a meeting in Houston last week about it, and specifically about the insider threats. So I think that as much as organizations are protecting themselves from traditional hackers who have different evasion techniques, they're also having to protect themselves from themselves. Most of the threats happen from inside of their organization. I think I saw something around 23%, which is pretty high. It's an existing employee making a decision or clicking on a link to give someone else access.
Okay, so it would be like someone with bad intentions or a hacker sending something to them personally, and they just, for whatever reason, they click on it, and that's what you mean by internal threats?
Yes, it can be that. So it can be through, it's called social engineering or cyber or phishing emails.
Phishing, yeah.
Phishing.
Like catfishing, or that's
no, not a lot of catfishing. Yet there is different vulnerabilities that are launched within the software. Yeah, that one made me giggle and also threw me off a little bit, which is so
No
funny.
problem. We're just having a chat here.
No, not a problem. A lot of it too can be a disgruntled employee. So say if I still have my username or password and thinking about security, it can also be physical security in operational environments and your different processes. So it's really neat to whiteboard with clients and learn more about our customers' needs because they're all so different.
The disgruntled customer, would that be, disgruntled client?
Employee?
Employee, would that be employee that's disgruntled turned hacker, or would they contact the hackers, or what does that look like?
Great question. It can look like many different things. So a disgruntled employee could also be someone who is like, maybe I'm a systems administrator and I'm working with a PLC system or which is a program logic control system or an HMI, human machine interface. And I can set things to happen at certain times, maybe during off hours. And if I'm the only one with the credentials and no one's watching the logs or the visibility of the overall security management, you can really mess a lot of things up that way.
Okay. And then why is all this relevant? Well, people that are listening that work in oil and gas and energy as a whole, why does this matter? I mean, not just people that work in IT and OT at their companies. Why should I care about this?
James, you should care about it because it's the increased awareness of security in your environment. Safety is huge, right? My dad, I think it's really funny, him working in oil and gas, he's Mr. Safety. Even at Thanksgiving, he'll set up orange cones around the turkey fryer. And I know how important safety is in critical infrastructure environment. And when you're talking about lives and when you're talking about people and you're also talking about money, those three things, you can't interchange them without imposing too much risk to your organization.
Okay, that'll make sense. And then myself and probably most of the people that are listening to this, they're not very familiar with maybe your firm or what cyber companies look like. So who are the big players in cybersecurity in that industry or that world?
So Checkpoint Software, the cybersecurity firm that I proudly work for, has been in the industry leading for 23 years. There's a lot of niche vendors who cover different things. Like I could go into them technically, and I know you're an engineer yet, not a technical engineer on the security side. So what's important to know, what's important to know, like the major players in security, Checkpoint Software has been the leader for many years and still continues to excel and perform. And we have a large R&D department.
Do you have any competitors or anyone else?
Yes,
that's similar
we do have
sized?
competitors. Absolutely. Palo Alto Networks is a big competitor of Checkpoint. I don't see them as a direct competitor because they're not performing on the same level that we are in terms of protecting it against advanced persistent threats and having that single pane of management and visibility into the organization. So Palo Alto Networks, Cisco has a security project.
Not the wrapper of the company, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fortinet as well are the ones that we mainly see in our space.
So we have a big four, just like in public accounting?
Yes.
Okay, got it. And then, so that's cybersecurity in the oil and gas industry. I know we've spoken about in past episodes, the Internet of Things. And one of the big concerns that comes up related to IoT, and there'd be the industrial Internet of Things related to critical infrastructure, oil and gas, all of these big, heavy processes. Cybersecurity sort of takes a backseat there, and that's one of the biggest concerns people have when they're trying to create all this machine learning and just having things talk to each other and having your pipeline be able to talk to another piece of the pipe down the way, or having one of your process units in your refinery talk to the other one, or drilling rigs. Is this going to be a big part? Like, what are companies doing to protect the future IoT and really just like you talked about our lives and the people that do the work?
Yeah, I think security is in the forefront of a lot of conversations at the executive level, yet what it needs to get down to is the awareness of the people who are actually involved, who don't have a technical background, like yourself, or any knowledge of cybersecurity, to have that awareness of what the company's policies are, as well as how they can protect themselves and keep themselves safe. Safe from stealing their information, as well as physically safe. And what's good to know about that?
Sure. Okay. So talking about keeping yourself personally safe, not related to oil and gas, a lot of us are probably, all I really know about cybersecurity is I don't want my credit cards and my personal identity to get hacked, or I have the same password for everything that I use because I just can't remember all of this stuff.
Yeah.
What are some good personal best practices? Like, how can I or anyone listening be, protect ourselves?
Right. I mean, you said it yourself. Passwords are huge. I know my grandparents, we had a conversation about it recently. And, they're of a different generation, but they have all their passwords stored on a notes app in their phone. And that's extremely risky because if someone takes control of that application, they have all their passwords for everything. So differentiating your passwords with different accounts is wise.
And then do I have to remember all of these? Like, that's just not practical. Like, we just do it for convenience. We almost cede our own personal security just because it's just easier.
Yeah. So when I joined Checkpoint in my new hire program, I actually had one of those password keeping apps that I was using that I realized was really an awful practice. Like, it wasn't a best security practice. So I think the useful tool though is in an Excel document, encrypt it, as well as write yourself.
Encrypt it? What does that mean?
Make sure that it's a password protected, in order and private to you only. Secure it on an encrypted USB drive. No, and lock it up where that is. And I would say write yourself questions that'll help prompt you to know your password rather than the password itself.
Yeah.
And change your password every 90 days.
Every 90 days?
Every 90 days.
Are there any, maybe we don't know, but are there any softwares or websites out there that help people like with these reminders, like change every 90 days or this or that?
In most companies, security policy, they'll automatically be prompted to change their
So a lot
password.
of people think that's a pain, but really that's to help
yeah,
keep
it
everything
helps.
secure.
Right, because say if your organization gets compromised, then in 90 days they wouldn't have that same information because you would change your passwords. Some other best security practices, we're young, right? We like to travel.
Yeah.
And I was going through an airport today, and it's common for people to have their driver's license out as well as their ticket. And I'd say best security practice is be aware of how much personal information sharing that you're giving to someone else. So I typically fold my driver's license down on my cell phone and don't extend it out to TSA until I arrive. So that way the person over my shoulder can't see my information, my permanent address where I live, because all they need is to create a profile similar to mine, make up my own password, add my own friends on Facebook or LinkedIn, and socially engineer and pretend that it's me and maybe open up a credit card.
This is something that's really frustrating to me just as a person, and I'm sure a lot of people deal with this, like related to security and just like waivers. Like everything that you sign up for, there's this long drawn out waiver, and they say read the terms and conditions, and you have to check the box. But like no one actually reads the box. Like, how can we protect ourselves from this? Like it almost seems like, well, what is this? Like I can't read that, but I'm signing this document saying I signed it. I mean, we don't necessarily have to give a solution to this, but just talk about how that's frustrating.
Are you talking about in your organization?
No, just like if I want to sign up for Dropbox, I've got to read the Dropbox terms and conditions, and I'm liable for everything that check the box on. I mean, is there anything out there that like is protecting people from themselves, like we talked about for just convenience reasons? I don't know. I mean,
that's a great question. I don't have the answer to that.
Okay.
A couple other best security practices. You have a laptop out in front of us right now, and I think one thing I have is called a 3M golden screen, and I love it because I go to work, I open up my laptop, and it also looks like a Ray-Ban sunglasses.
3M golden screen.
3M golden screen. You can buy them off of Amazon. It's a protected screen, so people over your shoulder in a coffee shop can't see your information.
Oh, because they can take devices and read all the information off your screen.
Yeah, I read something probably a while back that said, most hacking is visual. People will visually hack your information. And that's something that I find really fascinating. Going back to the waiver aspect of it, I'd say really focus on like what you're signing and like why you're signing it. I think there's so many waivers out there, right? There's so many different websites. They automatically get your name, your email, your address, Amazon, eBay. Anytime you buy and buy as a consumer anything, you're giving away your information. I recently moved and am also a big runner. So I applied to races and half marathons across the country. And there's many times where someone will have my information out on a hard copy piece of paper. My movers last week wanted to write down my entire credit card information, as well as my verification code and expiration date. And that's an awful one. I was like, I'm a security professional. That's an awful idea. And it was the fact that that's being asked for.
What did they say when you said like no?
It caused a big ruckus. There was a little bit of a language barrier, and though there was a confusion with like why, like it's more of an emotional, like how could you say like why are you doing this, or how could you stop my process of something that I normally do? Because this is the way I've always conducted it, is in case your credit card doesn't go through, I also want to write down your information.
Yeah.
Yet that person can also go to the gas station and go buy anything. Yeah, using my name and my credentials.
I don't know. That's something. It's really troubling, all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you said, it's very important. Ooh, what?
Yeah, I know. I'm getting excited thinking of all of the best security practices. Something else too, I was at an InfraGard meeting, and InfraGard is an organization. It's the FBI and private sectors where they come together to talk about cybersecurity in their industries, and it's fascinating. I highly recommend anyone who's of interest to join. One thing that we learned about last week, though, was how someone referred to themselves, like in my role as a business intelligence analyst. Because James, in our conversation with you before we started this podcast, I did a little bit of information finding, yet someone who has malicious intent can say, okay, James, based on your LinkedIn profile, I know exactly where you went to school. I know your interests. I know your hobbies. They can, socially engineer you and reframe and make, create you as essentially like some sort of other character in order to, harm your organization and anything that you do.
Okay, so another question. You sign up for an app, and one app just says, like, okay, you could make an account with us, or you could just sign in with your Facebook. Would it be better to sign in with Facebook and Google and maybe Twitter and only have 3 things that you sign in with and just have really strong passwords on those, or to have a bunch of disparate, separate sign-ins?
Yeah, I want to touch on passwords. So it's great to have, a mix of capital letters, numbers, words that make sense.
Symbols,
symbols,
signs.
Absolutely. So it's good to make sure you have a strong password, because most hacks occur because of weak passwords, especially in oil and gas. It's all the default passwords of, all right, I can go to a malicious website and find out that, this certain Siemens product as a automatic password of 1234.
Yeah.
And step right into the environment.
Game over.
It's quite ridiculous.
Okay, so you're obviously like a wealth of knowledge. Like we're learning so much about security in oil and gas and just how to be secure and how to, when you sign up for an app or sign up a waiver, like we're getting some knowledge here. What are some other resources to learn more about cybersecurity in general and oil and gas?
So cybersecurity in general, be sure to start with yourself first, right? Get in your personal network of, okay, where are all of my usernames and passwords kept? How am I protecting my information day in and day out? And you mentioned Facebook and social media earlier. Something to note are the privacy policies within that platform, because they change them all the time.
That's one thing I'm curious about. So when you go to tag or you take a picture on Facebook, it recognizes my face and my friend's face and my mom's face. Is that legal? Like, did I give consent for them to have like facial recognition? Because I've seen some lawsuits popping up and related to this in Illinois and also in Texas here.
Okay, I would check the privacy policy to see if you can turn that feature off.
Because I mean, that's kind of creepy. If nothing else,
it is creepy, and I know most people too. I have family members, and especially my full-blooded Italian grandmother. She can't be present and enjoy the moment because she's always waiting to put a picture on Facebook so our family across the country can see what's going on. Yet also checking into different restaurants as well. If I know that you're at a restaurant with your family celebrating your birthday, I also know that you're not home. And if you have a smart home and a home that's set up to the internet yet not secure, I can also open up your garage. I can turn off your alarm. It's really creepy and scary, and more like important to be aware of. So yeah, going back and being concise with that, check your privacy policies on your current platforms for yourself first. Look at all your banking, look at all your finance, and then also look into what is relevant at your work for cybersecurity. Anytime you get a link sent to you, whether it's from a HR department or maybe you recognize it's someone that you don't know or has an email, don't click on the link.
Yeah.
There would be so many
No clicks.
Don't click on it. I know some engineers that I work with that are very intelligent, like hover to see where it would actually go. Yet still, like delete it, alert your IT department, be in communication. I know great organizations also do their own spear phishing exercises. So IT departments will run their own, will run their own tests on their employees. So I think that people, as well as policies and enforcement, are really important to having a better cybersecurity posture.
Okay, and are there any things out there, maybe conferences or websites or yourself just reaching out to you that people can learn more about oil and gas and energy cybersecurity?
Yeah, InfraGard has a great special interest group that focuses on cybersecurity. They have oil and gas, power, utility. It's free to join. They do a background check on you, and it's a phenomenal organization with very well-respected individuals in it that meets monthly. Another couple great resources for cybersecurity, Krebs, Krebs security online is a great blog. He used to write for a well-established newspaper and also talks about the different hacks that are occurring. So I find a lot of his information relevant and important and good to know.
Okay, and then what are the best ways if people would like to connect with you? Because you're obviously a resource for cybersecurity and also just, a really motivated individual yourself. How can people reach out to you?
Thank you for that compliment. And people can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Jessica V. Patterson, or my Twitter, Instagram handle, Jess V as in Victor Patterson. I'd be more than happy to help share any tips and tricks that I know, as well as connect you with the right resources and making sure that your organization is one step ahead of all the advanced persistence threats. Something I also want to note too is, and that I'm personally motivated about, is developing the next generation of leaders in cybersecurity. There's very few young people and very few females in the industry, and I think it's important to really develop ourselves personally, as well as be in communication and be social, and really increase awareness around cybersecurity and why it's relevant.
Okay, and then, kind of in the future, where do you see yourself going? What are some things that you're trying to accomplish personally, in addition to staying true to this goal that you just spoke about?
I'm really passionate about security, and that's something that's developed over the past 3 years. It's so relevant. I'm always hungry to learn more information, and it's very stimulating. I also have very great mentors. There's 3 people in particular that have really transformed how I show up day in and day out in the business realm, as well as in security. And I really respect those people.
So you would say the mentors is really huge for developing your career.
Mentors are huge. I came back from Chicago this morning. I was at a women's leadership workshop at the Kellogg School of Management, and I was astounded by the amount of like-minded people who wanted to make a difference in the world. And it left me with the question of, okay, how do I want to make a difference in the world? And how do I want to lead the next generation of business professionals to make a difference in cybersecurity? I see myself being a cyber risk consultant and continuing to work with my firm, Checkpoint Software, as they've really invested in me and developed my career and are continuing to pioneer and be the innovative thinkers of the industry, and have also been very stable. So I enjoy working for my firm and will also have that higher level vision of being a cyber risk consultant. And honestly, that's how I view my job now as the territory development manager. Aside from bringing on new clients and working on different campaigns and events for prospects, I find myself like relating as a cyber risk consultant now, and also as the future executive that I want to be to create global impact in an organization in the world.
All right, Jessica, thank you so much for your time and all the knowledge that you've dropped on us. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
I'm happy to help. And it's nice to get back.
For sure. Okay. Talk to you next week, guys. When you hear this music, that means you are listening to the OGYP technology segment. All right, today I'm going to talk about an app that the API Young Professionals, my organization, started using, and basically it's cut down on all of our emails, all the clutter, and we don't even use email for anything other than talking to people outside of our group, or if after we've talked through everything, we let our mentor, Mark LaCour, know about it. So Slack is basically a messaging service aimed at cutting down email, and just gives you a better way to talk to all your coworkers or people you might work with or your friends. So think like group text or WhatsApp or GroupMe on steroids. And it's really cool. Like everything's located in channels and it's all customizable. So you can put like meetings, events, lunches, and anything else you might want to do. Or say like your company has a Midland, Odessa office and a Houston office and a New Orleans office. You can have specific channels and you can restrict whoever can go and talk in all those. It also works with like Excel and Google Docs, Dropbox, Twitter, LinkedIn, all the stuff you're probably using already. And it's, there's an iPhone app and also Android. And then it works on Windows and Mac. So it's kind of everywhere you're going to be. There's companies like Airbnb, Wall Street Journal, NASA, and LinkedIn already using it. And Slack, it only started 2 years ago, but it's already worth $4 billion. So it's blowing up. So Slack is helping NASA put rovers on the moon, or oil and gas organizations like the API Young Professionals plan amazing events like the Rig Tour. Seriously, guys, if you would like the Rig Tour, if you heard about it, we've got many more things like that, industry education coming. So if you want to find more, you can just go to api-yp.org. All right, since last week, we got 2 5-star reviews. So we're going to read those out. As is tradition, we're going to give some shout outs. So the first one is Wellmeyer, and the title is Gives Exactly What It Promises. James articulates the questions that you are most relevant to his audience and attracts guests that are genuinely interested in connecting with him and his listeners. This is a great listen not only for YPs themselves, but those who connect and interact with them professionally. Appreciate the review, Wellmeyer. Now we've also got, it's called Chief Wiggum, and I'm pretty sure that's James Hahn, and it's called JG on the Mic. James Gordy is absolutely killing it with this show. The content is outstanding and the production is fantastic on every episode. Yeah, more or less, guys. I'm doing my best. Can't believe his interview skills out of the gate. He sounds like he's done 100+ interviews already and he's making a handful of episodes in. Keep going, JG. Crazy proud of you. Okay, guys. So we got 2 reviews and that's great. Now we're up to 9. But that still means basically everyone that's listening hasn't sent me a review. And I even got my mom to put in there, so even less of y'all are doing a review. So what the review does is it helps push the show to the top of the search rankings, and it helps more people find the show. So if you want to leave a review, go to jamesgordy.com/review. Okay, not just iTunes. Now we're on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. So we're kind of everywhere now. And if you want to reach out to me, hit me up. You can find all my contact info in the show notes. That's going to be jamesgordy.com/OGYP6. And you can find my email, LinkedIn, Twitter, any other way to contact me on there. And as a final reminder, these shows come out just like you're listening to it now, every Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. Talk to you next week.
Can we start over?
Sure.
Okay, great.